Good morning. I've been saging my whole house, and this little baby hasn't turned off yet. So I'm like, oh, it's so smoky. Yes, cleansing the house. It's the energy of full moon and lunar eclipse. So yeah, they're at it. So a lot of you gonna add this into the video that I'm supposed to be doing today. There was definitely an attack last night, so a lot of you, cleanse your energy. I know it's the Palm Day or something like that for a lot of you. So there was a lot of people doing stuff, okay? A lot of you, your intuition already tells you, right? Cleanse your energy, cleanse you. Yes. It didn't work. So that's your confirmation. Whoever needed to hear that, whatever the attack, whatever demonic ritual, satanic ritual they did in your energy, trying to harvest your energy, make you look in a negative light, something like that, any lies or their propaganda, trying to disguise the truth with lies and make people believe their fucking lies, it backfired, boo. In the name of Jesus. And we rebuke and counsel any negative energy. Send it back to you, the liar, the manipulator, the psychotic. Because you must be some sadistic psychopath that needs to be locked up, doing fucked up shit in the backgrounds and thinking that people don't know and people don't think that you're doing it. You evil, sick fuck. Get off my energy. Get off my community energy in the name of Jesus. Now let's get into it. All right. Hello. So as the title of this message, and probably a couple messages that kind of come up, we are flagging this as a trigger warning. Okay, there's going to be trigger warnings here, as the video and content it is for educational purposes, but also to reveal the truth. Okay. I've been getting a lot of messages and download messages, and then all the videos that are coming up here is to confirm those messages as well. I will tap into the specific decks that he asked me to do, Holy Spirit. We're going to do a little prayer right now. So Padre nuestro que estás en el cielo, santificado sea tu nombre, venga a nosotros tu reino, hágase tu voluntades en la tierra como en el cielo. Danos hoy nuestro pan de cada día y perdona nuestras ofensas como también nosotros perdonamos a los que nos ofenden. No nos deje caer en la tentación, mas líbranos del mal. Amén. Rebuke and in Jesus any negative energy, anybody trying to tap into this energy, please, Father God, Archangel Michael, Archangel Metatron, Archangel Gabriel, please close that door and only reveal the clarity and truth and justice that needs to be revealed in these messages. Amen. We can cover ourselves with the energy, okay? But definitely yesterday, around 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, I heard Holy Spirit confirming for a lot of y'all that ISIS is Israel, okay? It's just them masquerading themselves, okay? USA uses them all the time. I do have a couple of videos to confirm that as well, but he wants to confirm that to all of y'all. If your intuition has been telling you this, you're right, okay? God is confirming it to you. You probably had dreams, had signs last night or the couple nights into this Russian attack, which is just a distraction. Again, you need to learn. I'm going to show you another video also of someone he wants to confirm this, the way that propaganda works, okay?
Propaganda is not just about lies, it's about distraction. Just take a small sample of the cliches they use in order to divert the conversation. I'm sure you heard these one after the other. What is a proportionate response? Does Israel have the right to defend itself? Do you condemn Hamas? Does Israel have the right to exist? October 7th, decapitated babies, babies. Women were raped. Babies were put in the oven. They are killing babies. October 7th. Why don't the Arab take in the Palestinians? Where is the outrage when Muslims kill other Muslims? Why don't you talk about Syria, Libya, Sudan, Yemen? October 7th, you are anti-Semitic. You are a Jew hater. You are a terrorist sympathizer. Do you condemn Hamas? October 7th. We will talk about everything except the killing that is happening every day as we sit here discussing bullshit talking points. This style of distraction is inspired by a very old debating trick called gish galloping. Gish galloping is a way where one side throws distraction, lies, and half-truth at you in order to confuse you, distract you away from the real issues. We have seen this on display every day since the war started. History only started on October 7th. We are not allowed to talk about what came before. You criticize Israel, you want ceasefire, you hate the Jews. What about the decapitated babies? So now they shut down the conversation. They turn it emotional, visceral, but I don't blame them. They do what other countries do. They lie. They lie and they lie and they lie and they lie. And when you think they are done, they go like DJ Khaled, another one. No, I don't blame them. I blame the Western media, the same media that gave us lectures and history lessons about transparency, honesty, journalistic integrity, and holding people accountable.
Zionists are always like, oh, but Israel is surrounded on all sides by enemies. And it's like, do you know who else was surrounded on all sides by enemies? These guys. Yeah, it turns out when your state is founded by genocidal ethno-nationalists stealing land that isn't theirs, your neighbors tend to not like you very much. Shocking. Like, Zionists always try to frame the central conflict in the Middle East as, oh, these Arab states refuse to recognize Israel's right to exist, which is, like, technically accurate, just like it's technically accurate to frame the central conflict of World War II as the Allied nations refused to recognize the Third Reich's right to exist. In both cases, for very good reason, because both the Third Reich and Israel were founded by genocidal ethno-nationalists stealing land that wasn't theirs because they felt they had an ancestral historical claim to it. Oh, but the Arab states are the ones that declared war on Israel, so technically they started the conflict. France and the UK are the ones that declared war on Germany, so by your logic, Hitler is the victim. Which is logic that only makes sense if you frame violently stealing people's land as a neutral action that everyone else should be fine with. Ah, but the Levant used to be part of the Kingdom of Israel, and Czechoslovakia used to be part of the Holy Roman Empire. I guess that gives Hitler a free pass, right? Go fuck yourself.
Why won't you allow more food trucks to drive through the border crossings into Gaza to feed starving civilians while you continue to take out the terrorists in Hamas?
The problem isn't getting the trucks in. The problem is that once they're getting in, they're looted by Hamas or looted by gangs.
With respect, though, sir, it's not happening.
And the main obstacle to that is actually Hamas.
It's not happening. Well, in the north, you said that you've destroyed Hamas. If Hamas isn't in the north, then how is Hamas taking away food? And if you open up more border crossings and give more food into the area, allow starving people to eat, the looting maybe would subside. That's human nature, no?
Hello, my name is Morgan Cooper. I'm a U.S. citizen married to a Palestinian, and we are raising our two small children here in Ramallah of occupied Palestine. There are two Zionist myths that I was taught as a child growing up in the United States. The first one is that this is an intractable conflict. It's not. It started in the early 20th century, and specifically with the Balfour Declaration, when the British occupying Palestine decided that they had the right to create a Jewish homeland here in historic Palestine. Then in 1948, the United Nations actually acknowledged that and declared the state of Israel on over 50% of historic Palestine, dispossessing Palestinians from their land. Now, the second Zionist myth I was raised with is that this is a religious war, namely between Jews and Muslims. That's not true. And I'm kind of living proof of that because I'm married to this guy here. Let's get some focus. Who's a first Christian. Do you know what that means? It literally means he's a descendant of the disciples of Jesus Christ. Okay? And this is our church, where we're at this Sunday morning worshiping. So just remember, this is a land of many religions, people of different faiths, but people of different belief systems as well. And that is not what this is about. This genocide you see happening now and the ethnic cleansing of Palestine since 1948, it's just about land. It is part of the legacy of all colonial projects. So please don't buy these two Zionist myths.
We have to stay focused. We can't just be distracted all of the time. We are here to the liberation of the Palestinian, the Congo, Sudan, also Yemen, all the occupied and oppressed and against. We need to, it's already happening though, but this is the USA imperialist falling, capitalist, Zionist energy. So we are here to confirm that, but I will, it took me a while to come here. I'm just gonna be honest, because after I did the saging, I did my prayers and meditation, I'm in so much rage. Like, God just keeps saying, just create, mija, just create, you know, just put the truth out there. And I'm going to continue going, even though we've been trying to silence us, suppress the content. So thank you guys so much for liking, commenting, and sharing the video. Okay, it takes 2 seconds to share it to your community. For those on the YouTube, those on your TikTok, if you're able to share it as a repost, that's fine as well. Okay, we need to continue spreading the information, and most of the information here comes from Palestinians themselves or people who are in the Palestinian diaspora. Also those who are supporting in Haiti as well. I do have a content for Haiti, Sudan, and Congo as well. We have in the video before that. Okay, make sure that that's why I put in the description below their links, who posted it, so I don't take any ownership of those content. They already have their owners, and that's why I put the links below. They come from themselves. So if God himself, which most of y'all he does, I know he keeps confirming it to me, he said, I do the exact same thing I do with you, with everyone else who is in this energy. Okay, so he wants you guys to take the post and repost it in your accounts. Okay, yes, you're gonna lose certain things and stuff like that, but God is going to give you 10 times full. I talked about that before. We are dealing with that information war, and they're already losing, but still, the more we can get, the better. Silence is violence, and especially right now. All right, another thing, in the description below, you're going to see some GoFundMe as well, okay? These are people that, some of them, they already are out. So thank you so much for those who donated to help a Canadian get out of Gaza. We really appreciate it. Okay, there's still, I think, Priest Kunuta, he still, needs help. Okay, but also I would suggest, I also want to clarify something. Here in this channel, any GoFundMe or anybody, any donation organizations on Instagram and stuff like that, we don't receive anything from them. Okay. It's that I just do it because it's the right thing to do, and it's because I have to be obedient to God. We don't get anything. God reward me in other ways, okay? Much other ways, which he knows which way is that. And I require protection for me, for my children, and those who are around me and my community. And he's been doing that, just that, okay? Now, that for me is my reward. For our reward for me, it's not material thing, it's not anything like that. And also he takes care of me when I'm running out of things, and he makes sure that I have it, okay? So my point here is what I do here. It's not for me to get some clout or for you guys for validation. None of that. This is just because it's the right thing to do. Is that I am in my humanity. We have empathy as an empath, as a light worker. It's my duty to do this. So this is why the recent post that I posted about someone that I was hoping, again, I'm always hoping, but that's what he told me, that I don't have to shade on anybody like that, but I wanted to ask Stephanie P. Smith, why aren't you talking about genocide? I hope that you're using that beautiful energy that you have to pray for the Palestinians and the Congo and the Sudan. And he asked me to tell you, make sure that that video that you created with the odor, witchcraft and stuff like that, which he asked me to remove it because it was only for a few people that he wanted that there. to please, please, please give some of your profits to the people who need it, okay? There is in the GoFundMe below. Go to Operation Branch. I don't care if people come after me and stuff like that. We are 6 months now in 170 days of this. And you said in the beginning of October 7th that you had a dream and stuff like that. So we're still waiting for you to say something. You have a large platform and community. And at this point, I'm hoping and praying that you're not a Christian Zionist, because if you are, shame on you. Shame on you on using people's vulnerability and using your gifts and talents for the wrong reasons. But if you are doing it in the background, I don't care how you do it. Just do it. One post, anything. I know God has given you channel messages about this, and you feel, because your ego, the same way that you ended with that video saying that, oh, well, I feel bad talking about Black women. Yes, don't feel bad. Do you see how that's another thing? This post here talking about how white supremacy is not just for white people. Use proof of that. That video, I will put it in the description below for all of y'all to see. It does have some good pointers. I will say that. And I'm not shading on them. Don't go and blast her or anything like that. Everyone has to go respond to God. I'm just here as a messenger, and that's it. Because I don't need to approach. I don't need to do anything like that. You can deal with God. You already dealt with him already. The reason why you're getting all this witchcraft and warfare, which I told you guys before, and I told you again, everyone who is talking about Palestine, Congo, and Sudan outside of the status quo, you are protected heavily. So you don't have to worry about witchcraft. Now, what I'm saying is that your video is very nice. It's very great. But you have to also understand that your privilege, and I know you didn't grow up as someone who was privileged, and I understand. You want to show to the world that you now have the means, that you have all that it takes, that you live a beautiful lifestyle. I understand. I get it, being in the homeless energy as well. But I'm telling you right now, the white supremacy and the colonization needs to happen. You can do better. And I hope you don't take it this the wrong way, because I'm also talking to the people of the Tower community, the spiritual community as well. All the prophets. All you care about money, you already lost it. If all you do is for money, you already lost. It's an illusion. Do you understand? He said the profits from your skincare, whatever that you're doing, it has to be given to those in need right now. He's been telling you messages. He's been giving you downloads. You just keep ignoring, but you're only taking the ones that you really like, right? The one that makes you look good on YouTube, right? And now I understand what everybody, certain energies, not that I'm saying that it's right for them to do this, but every time they talk about you and in a negative way or something like that, that's God allowing them to do that. Why? Because you still have to stand up for those who you say that you protect, that you pray for. He didn't give you this platform and this wealth, this energy for you to use it for the wrong reasons, for selfish greed, to endorse and enable capitalism. That's not what you're here for. That's what you went through, all the stuff that you went through, so that you can show, just like you have all that knowledge, because it's beautiful that you have that knowledge. It's great. But you're intertwining that knowledge with just capitalism stuff. I was still waiting for the one with the odor that you talked about, the skin, the people who smell like death. And I was hoping that just maybe you will show videos of what's going on in the Palestinians. Do you know that that's their life? That they smell rotten flesh every day? And even before October 7? Educate yourself. And I'm not just talking to this person, but I'm talking to every large subscribers and people in this platform. You should know better. We cannot continue this thing just because it benefits you, just because you're privileged and you want to maintain that comfortability. Well, it's okay. It's not my problem. Yes, it is your problem. It will. That's what we're getting at. I don't care what anybody has to say at this point. You should know better. You hear God, you should know better. He's been telling you. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, I don't want to be doing this. What? Do you think I want to be doing this? Talking about what horrible things this government and politicians and all the AIPAC and everybody does? I really hope that you see this video. And I really hope that you educate yourself. And I really hope you start changing the content right now and advocating for those in need. You who say who you're a mother, Anybody who says who's a mother and hasn't talked about this yet, shame on you. And I'm not saying this out of coming from me or from my ego or to boost. I don't care about that. It comes from God, and you know it. Conviction is completely different for everybody, but you've been convicted for this already. It's time to show up like you say that you are, the advocating, the person that talks about that how people can liberate themselves. Use your gift and talents for the actual right reasons, not just for the benefit of your increasing your YouTube channel and your money. Because at the end of the day, when we're not here, we can't take those things. I'm glad that you finally have all the things that you ever wanted. But guess what? Palestinians deserve that too. Congolese deserve that too. Sudan deserves that too. Yemen deserves that too. Everybody who's oppressed deserves that too. We are here to bring equality and stand up for any BIPOC. So do not feel ashamed or saying Black women going through this witchcraft in order. Yes, they are. They know this. They don't need you or the confirmation. They already got their confirmation from God. So I'm not trying to feel any type of way. I'm not attacking you. I'm talking from someone who admires you, who learned a lot from you, and I'm still hoping, waiting. But I feel like at this point, it's like waiting for rain in a drought. And it sucks. And I'm just going to live with that. And I told God I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to talk about your video, which was great. It was so great. But also it has some inconsistency. Not everybody can afford all those things the products that you're showing that they should get so that they don't have any odors, so that they can prevent, or they have their solution of people doing witchcraft on them so that they can smell that, right? They can't afford that. Also, the products that you show unconsciously because you're not educated, and that's okay. Educate yourself. That's what this is for. Just like any person, you can criticize me too. I don't mind being criticized. Actually, it's critical thinking. It's good. We're not perfect, which is why I'm doing this in a way, and hopefully you will see it, okay? Look at the brands that you promoted in your video, because I know you say you don't promote it. I don't know if you get some cash from that, but you didn't mention it in your video that you don't get any money from that. Right? And if you are getting money, can you please rectify and say that you will be donating and show proof that you will be donating it to the Palestinian, to Congo or Sudan? I have links in the description below. There's Operation Olive Branch that you can look at the drive. These are personal Palestinians, their GoFundMe, that you can just go and donate. Okay? No more excuses. There's no excuses for me. There's no excuses for anybody else. At this point, we don't have time for that. At this point, we really have to stop this genocide. We really have to stop the USA, what they're doing, what they're planning to do. Did you know 2 days ago they gave $3.2 billion to the US so they can buy more guns, even though it's been 6 months? And also that's because they retaliated, because they were exposed for the...
Every day we wonder if they are capable of committing worse atrocities than the day before. And every day we are proven that yes, they can. Now, Palestinian eyewitness Jamil al-Hassa, who was in the besieged hospital of Al-Shifa, a hospital that they had stated, when they had stated they do not target hospital, has stated that the occupation forces have raped and killed women. These are the same people that we saw shoot at Palestinians, starving Palestinians going to get aid. These are the same people that shot parents in front of their children. These are the same people that messed around with women's lingerie who are either dead or displaced. These are the same people that we've seen boasting with and posting videos of them playing in schools of dead or displaced Palestinian children. These are the same people who have time and time again committed war crimes, rejoiced and posted them on Telegram channels. So seeing and this is a very important note, who shot a doctor who was not willing to leave his patients behind, who were able to leave babies alone in hospitals. They are the same people who are capable of all these war crimes that are committed daily now. Now, when we see a statement like this, it is 100% believable. So my question is, where are the female-led groups? Where are the women empowerment groups? Where are the feminist groups that are usually so easily able to be vocal about our oppression in the region and actually end up aiding in the dehumanization of people of the region? Where are their voices now? Now, I'm not a feminist. We never in our family believed in labeling ourselves as one thing or another, or because it just sort of puts you in a box. My grandmother was naturally powerful, and we never thought of ourselves to claim ourselves as one thing or another. But you've taken that responsibility. You are calling yourself a feminist. So where is your voice now? No one is going to say, where was your voice before? If you speak up now, if you actually push forward, because obviously from all these atrocities that we are witnessing, they don't have a moral compass to stop themselves. They will not stop by their own accord. Just as they gained their strength from the international community, it is up to the international community to then stop these loose cannons who are so well able to commit such atrocious crimes. What is extremely hurtful and infuriating is the world was so well able to justify the killing and the starvation of Palestinians based on a lie of rape and beheaded babies that was later refuted and stated to be a complete lie. And yet the war crimes continued. Now that you have truth right in front of you, how is this justification and silence still going on? It should scare you wherever you are that they are able to boast and commit such war crimes so blatantly and so unapologetically because they believe that the international community will not stop them. It is time for you, wherever you are, to prove them wrong.
Talk about that. And those of y'all who are survivors of this, you need to listen to this. They are now preventing the only UNRWA, UNRWA, from giving in the north of Gaza, for giving them food, even though they're already starving for the past 6 months. This truth was exposed because they were exposed by a lady who I will show you the video as well as the proof.
شفناه بالنسبة للنساء اللي اغتصبوها، بالنسبة للنساء اللي خطفوها، للي أعدموهم، للجثث اللي تحت الردم طلعوهم، هجموا كلابهم عليهم ياكلوهم. في أعطل من هيك، في أعطل من لما نشوف الستات بصوتوا بدهم مناشدة وبنيجي نروح نعمل لهم أي شيء يطخوا علينا. في أعطل من هيك، في أعطل إنه كل اللي إحنا بنمر فيه من حرب نفسية وجسدية، حرب من كله.
IOF has taken over Al-Shifa Hospital for the last 6 days, and we need to talk about what's been happening inside. This is Hussam, who's a journalist in northern Gaza, and I want to read what he posted on his Instagram. A husband and wife, along with their young children who were displaced, sought shelter at Al-Shifa Hospital. The pregnant wife was forcibly undressed by Israeli forces, despite informing them of her pregnancy. They continued to kick her. Then they assaulted and R-worded her in front of her family and other men, threatening to shoot her husband and the other men if they closed their eyes. Unfortunately, that's not all. There's a woman named Jamila who escaped the hospital and spoke to Al Jazeera and said these last 6 days have been by far the worst days out of the entire 6 months, and this is what she had to say.
لو تعطينا فكرة عن وضعكم الآن في تلك المنطقة.
وضعنا مأساوي جدا جدا، وضعنا حزين، وضعنا كئيب، وضعنا يعني قد ما احكي لك مش هوصف لك اللي احنا فيه من جوع، من عطش، من ترحيل، من دمار، من قصف على الاطفال المرضى، على المصابين، على اللي تركناهم ينزفوا لحد الموت، على الاطفال المصابين اللي امه شافته وهو بيعيط واليهود طلعوها غصب عنها، ابنها بنزف شايفاه بين عينيها مش قادره تاخده، عن بنتي المريضه اللي بتمشي وبتنزف كل خطوه بتنزف، عن العجوز، عن متلازمه داون، عن اللي على عربيات، انا ايش احكي لكم؟ هم مصوميننا من يوم ما حصرونا 6 ايام عن الميه، عن الاكل، إلنا 6 ايام من ناشد بس الصليب الاحمر يجي يطلعنا من مبنى الUNDP ده المستشفى الحلو الدولي، دمرونا.
ما هو وضعكم الآن؟ هل خرجتم من هذا المبنى وكيف؟
احنا طالعين، احنا هينا ماشيين متوجهين بعرفش وين، عدد من الناس، عدد من الإصابات، أطفال، نساء، شيوخ، وبقصفوا عليه، هم بيطلعونا وهم بيطلعونا عارفين إنهم رح يقصفوا علينا. أنا بحكي معاكي وكل حواليا، كل الأماكن اللي حواليا بتنحرق، كل الاماكن من مباني من مستشفى من اي شيء كله محروق. يعني حتى فيش مكان احنا نتقاوى فيه، احنا ماشيين مش عارفين وين رايحين. الزنانه، الكواد كابتر، القناص كله حوالينا.
ماذا عن مشاهداتكم لما يحدث في داخل المجمع؟
مجمع الشفاء الطبي عباره عن ساحه حربيه تشبه الغول. تعرف الغول؟ تعرف لما انت تحضري مسلسل اكشن فيه احداث، يعني مش هحكي قد ما انت بتشوفوا على التلفزيونات وبتسمعوا اخبار ومن الصحافه ومن الناس اللي بتناشد، ولا هذا لا يذكر ولا لا يذكر بالنسبه للي احنا شفناه، بالنسبه للنساء اللي اغتصبوها، بالنسبه للنساء اللي خطفوها، للي اعدموهم، للجثث اللي تحت الردم طلعوهم، هجموا كلابهم عليهم ياكلوهم. 65 عيله طلعت من المبنى اللي احنا كنا فيه، طلعونا واحنا اواعينا حرقوهم، شبابنا حرقوهم، اقرب الناس ان نطلع فيهم سبناهم مشينا، بطولنا طلعنا، بطولنا، ولا اواعي ولا اكل ولا شرب ولا اي شيء.
وهل حدث ذلك في مبان اخرى كذلك؟
طبعا صار انه دخلوا على بيوت، فتحوا الابواب، دخلوا على بيوت، طلعوا النسوان وخطفوا الرجال اللي طخوهم اللي حرقوهم، ويحرقوا النسوان بالاطفال في المباني جوا في البيوت. هو هذا اعطى الشيء صار بحي، هذا اعطى ال6 ايام من 6 شهور، هذول اعطى ال6 ايام من كل شيء، من حرب نفسيه وجسديه وجوع وعطش، بابشع حرب تصير من 6 شهور.
There's proof already. There's the UN approving this already. There's evidence. To this day, October 7, they don't have any evidence of the rape that happened in October 7. None of the stuff that they made up has been evidence. But meanwhile, Palestinians have plenty of evidence. You can look at the telegrams. It's clear as day. Israel exposes themselves. It's a privilege not to watch those things. It's a privilege not to educate yourself and decolonize, as God has been telling all of y'all, not just Stephanie P. Smith. But then again, I really hope that you're not this person that most people like to. I still don't believe that. I don't. But every time, every day that you don't show that you advocating for those that you say that you care about, or your community, or even your own lineage, which is African American or whatever, Jamaican or whatever. Haiti is also dealing with stuff. I know I have Haitian descendancy, so I need to advocate for my people, for our ancestors. Christianity is not just for me to show that I'm Christian, I have gifts and talents, and this is what I got, this is how I do it. That's not it. You also have to be there for others in need. That's the whole point. You have to be the Christ-like. Put yourself in their situation. Have empathy. Right now, it shows that you have a lot of apathy. But I'm going to stop talking about this.
Hey, so I was wondering, you know how loud and wrong we were about Israel saying that the Israeli women were raped by Hamas, and how so many different organizations have said, let us in and let us do our investigation so we could give proper justice to those women, and every single organization was turned down and said no. And then they were offered a rape kit for those women. They were offered, like, we don't even have pictures and voices or anything of these women. The only thing we have is that one bimbo who said she was raped by the eyes of Hamas because their religion tells them that they're not allowed to touch women. So I was wondering, since we were so loud and wrong, and how it's been refuted over and over and over and over and over again, why have we not spoken about the fact that the UN has come out and said, hey, IOF terrorists are raping Palestinian women and little girls? Why are we not being as loud as we were about the lie for the truth? Hello? I need some answers. We're loud about a lie, but we're quiet about the truth.
This is one of the greatest statues in the British Museum. It's a statue of Augustus that is supremely well preserved. But the reason why it's so well preserved is not known in general by a lot of people. It was because of a black woman. Her name was Amanirenas. and she was one of the mightiest queens in the kingdom of Meroe. The reason why this statue is so well preserved is because she invaded the city in which this statue was standing. She cut off the head of the statue and then proceeded to bury it under the stairs of the Temple of Victory in the capital city of Meroe, so that she could walk on top of it every day that she went to pray. The kingdom of Meroe was a very powerful Kushite kingdom that lasted from the 3rd century BC to the 4th century BC. It was a kingdom in which women had a ton of authority. They even had their own royal titles. That came down to us through language deformation. Do you know the name Candace? Have you ever wondered where the name Candace came from? It came from Kandake, which is a Meroitic title for a warrior queen. Amenerenes, like many other royal Kushite rulers, is currently buried in the UNESCO heritage site, the Pyramids of Meroe. And this site is, like every other cultural site in Sudan at this moment, under threat. This is Mahmoud Suleiman. He's the sole caretaker of this site that has 200 plus pyramids. And he, like most of the people who worked in preserving the archaeological heritage of Sudan, are at this moment terrified of what's going to happen. The National Museum in Khartoum has already been looted. And as we know, the United Nations has decided to withdraw all of its forces out of Sudan. Why am I speaking about archaeological records when at this moment thousands upon thousands of people are dying in Sudan? Out of starvation, out of violence, without anyone in the international community caring a little bit about it? Well, it's because I grew up in the West, and I've seen how we in the West usually care more about archaeological sites, about historical remnants, than we actually do about black and brown people. I still remember the outrage that people had at the destruction of the Bamiyan Buddhas, at the destruction of the archaeological site of Palmyra, while showing remarkable indifference to the people who were fleeing Afghanistan and were fleeing Syria into Europe as asylum seekers.
I asked, so if everybody has a specific algorithm, a specific bubble, that means somebody not interested in Palestine would never see any Palestinian content. And they said, exactly. So I said, explain to me why people all over, why somebody in California called Samantha, who grew up in a Zionist environment, never heard anything about Palestinians, explain to me how the Palestinian content got onto her phone. And they said, because Sammy, when thousands of people share something, algorithm doesn't get affected. When millions share it, the algorithm raises an eyebrow. When billions share it, the algorithm bangs on the door of the bubble and it says, listen, listen, listen. I know you're watching some funky thing about somebody falling in a swimming pool and doing a prank, but you need to see this because billions of people are sharing it. We don't know what it is. We're just capitalists. We just like things that are popular. We're going to put it on your screen. So when David, Samantha, Sarah, Michael, Jeffrey, give me names, Charlotte, Cali, I don't know if Cali's the name, but in any case, California, which take the first part. California, when they woke up one day, when they were expecting to go through TikTok to go see the latest dance trend, instead they saw Mu'taz Azaiza, they saw Plastia, they saw Hind al-Khudari. They scrolled to the next part. They saw the kids, the picture of the hospital which was bombed, and they see the limbs of the children outside those hospitals, those children lying dead. They saw the mother lying over the corpse of her son, and she's screaming. She says, why couldn't they spare the head? Because the head has been blown off the body. They see the kids with their limbs amputated, crying, saying, I want my leg back, I want my leg back. What do you think Samantha, Jeffrey, Charlotte, Chris, John, what do you think they did? They didn't scroll past. They clicked the share button. When they clicked the share button, they ended up spreading it. When they spread it to more people. And when Gallup went and did their polls about how the Americans feel, what is the current American public opinion, they were stunned to find that under 35s have become overwhelmingly pro-Palestinian. That Kamala Harris might be standing for Zionism, but her daughter is raising money for Palestine. The point that I'm emphasizing here is what brought about that American public opinion shift? What brought about that shift that has suddenly made Europe restore funding for UNRWA when Biden didn't want to? That made Canada restore funding for UNRWA when Biden didn't want to. That made Norway triple its funding for UNRWA when Biden didn't want to. That what is making all these nations change their minds? It's not some conspiracy theory. It's you. It's the ordinary individual. You who think yourself to be weak are the ones manifesting a power so great that it is causing this shift in public opinion and forcing the change in foreign policy. When South Africa heard your call, South Africa, may Allah give it every prosperity. May Allah give it every security. May Allah protect it from every evil. When South Africa heard your call, because the algorithm promoted deleted the Palestinian content that you were sharing. South Africa took the case to the ICJ, and I saw something I never thought I'd see in my lifetime. Israel is now on trial for genocide in the International Court of Justice, which has led to Japanese companies cutting their relations. They cut their ties with Israeli companies out of fear of the ICJ ruling. Ask yourselves, who brought that change? Was it Biden? No. Was it Blinken? No. Was it Netanyahu? No. Was it any of the neighboring leaders? No, it was you. There is a power that you are manifesting, because the ordinary person is not weak or powerless. The ordinary person is not incapable.
Only decent human beings will watch this video all the way through, especially if you work in healthcare. This is a call in to all my med talk, med student talk, doctors and nurses of TikTok. Our colleague, Dr. Sarah Galayini, almost died last night. She is trapped inside Al-Shifa Hospital where they can't escape or they might be sniped, and the hospital is currently being boom-boomed. They are murdering doctors. While I play you this video, I want you to close your eyes and pretend it's you. Pretend it's your hospital, your department, your patients, your colleagues, your life.
As you know the situation here in the Shifa Hospital, we are trapped here with my family and people who have had surgery and a pregnant woman who gave birth and her newborn baby. Around 100 people here in a hospital.
That looks like a lobby or maybe an emergency room. There's some exam, maybe triage rooms there. Imagine this is your hospital, guys. She's still working. She's helping people. Help, doctor.
Do not scroll. I have an urgent message from Al-Shifa Hospital. Dr. Sarah and Dr. Warda have said that Izzy has surrounded the hospital. They've executed over 140 people. There is no food, no electricity, and no water. I'm going to play you a clip from Dr. Sarah.
As you know the situation here in the Shifa Hospital, we are trapped here with my family and people who have had surgery and a pregnant woman who gave birth and her newborn baby. Around 100 people here in a hospital.
And this is the result. And thankfully, Dr. Sarah made it out alive this time. She's doing the impossible on an eSIM to show us the truth. We must support her. Surely we can do better than this for a Gazan hero. And if you're wondering why you can't find the original video, they took it. Don't let them silence Dr. Sarah. Support her directly.
Some of the horrors that were also happening in Tigray during the genocide was the dehumanization of people in Tigray, where they were forcing fathers to rape their daughters, or they were raping children, little girls, in front of the entire community. The main reason the genocide in Tigray came to an end, or didn't end, was largely due to the mass uprising of the civilian population who fought back against the Eritrean army and the Ethiopian army and effectively pushed them back. How were these everyday civilians in Tigray successfully able to push these armed militias out of their state without being an organized army, without having resources, without having weapons? And what happened after they were able to push these armed forces out of Tigray?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what you said about the horrific nature of the raping and is just something out of this world. I have never heard of any military organ that rapes innocent children in front of their entire community. And in Tigray, that's precisely what happened. People were raped in places of worship. Monks were raped in monasteries. Islam sisters that sought rescue in mosque were raped in mosques. It's crazy. Priestesses were forced to rape their own children at a gunpoint. And when they fell, when they refused to do that, they were shot right there and then. And after that, the children were raped by the military. So what happened in Tigray is out of this world. Tigrayans were even burned alive. We had supporters of the Ethiopian government or members of the Amhara community preaching online, saying that it's a blessing not only to kill but also to burn Tigrayans and to eat their flesh. These are things that were being pushed for by Amhara influential businessmen that are so looked up to by the community. So the level of dehumanization that was done is just crazy. And this is primarily because the Ethiopian government was actively using state-owned media stations, radio stations, TV stations, and newsletter to dehumanize the people of Tigray so that it's easy for day-to-day ordinary citizens to commit the kind of heinous crimes that they committed. We were called daytime hyenas, we were called newcomers to the country, we were called cancers that need to be weed out. So these are the kind of language and terminologies that were used to describe the people of Tigray, regardless of our political affiliation. And how the response from the Tigrayans to this kind of violence was, at the beginning, a lot of us didn't know anything about, like war, because many of us, Tigray and Ethiopia at large, has a young generation. 78% of the population is very young, and we're people who were born after the 17 years armed struggle. So we know how horrific conflicts are, but we have never really been involved in any, because Ethiopia had relatively enjoyed a peaceful time for the past 30 plus years. So when the war began, a lot of Tigrayans didn't want to participate because we thought, like the narrative that was being pushed by the Ethiopian government, we thought this was, conflict between two political parties. So a lot of, the people were hesitant to join, even those of us in the diaspora. But then when we saw the horrific raping of our family members, when we saw the indiscriminate bombardments of our schools and our homes, even kindergarten schools, so we didn't have any other option but to fight back. So a lot of the younger, not only the younger, the educated, the college professors, the doctors, the nurses, the merchants, everyone didn't have any option but to fight back. So when the war began, Tigray only had less than 15,000 special forces or, policemen. And this is allowed to do according to the Ethiopian constitution. But after the conflict, intensified, every other Tigrayan picked up arms and started to fight. But because Tigray was completely circled, because it was under siege, there was no any way to get, external help or anything. Whereas the Ethiopian government was being supported not only by Eritrean troops, but also with armaments and drones that were funded by countries like Turkey, UAE, and Saudi Arabia. So the people of Tigray, they just started fighting with everything they had. And then they would, capture the Eritrean and Ethiopian forces, and they will take their arms from them, and then they will fight them with that. And then successfully, they had defeated the Ethiopian army. The Ethiopian army never in its history has ever been defeated the way it has been defeated in Tigray. And then they didn't only defeated them, but they pushed them back all the way to the Ethiopian capital. Like the Tigrayan armies, or we call them the Tigray Defense Forces. These are defense forces that were organized after the genocide was waged against the people of Tigray. They successfully pushed this genocidal force like maybe 100 kilometers away from the capital city, which is why the international community, the US government primarily, and European state countries were very much alarmed. And they came to the rescue of the Ethiopian government, and they forced the warring parties to sign a cessation of hostilities agreement on November 2022.
All right, I've been seeing something very disturbing that needs to be addressed. Israel does not own the US. There's a reason why we call the American empire, which, again, Americanism and America, like Zionism and the Zionist state, is a violent settler colonial project and a violent occupation of Turtle Island. And there's a reason we call America the belly of the beast, because Israel does not own America. The United States of America is the locus of imperial power and colonial domination and exploitation. The Zionist state serves as a client state of U.S. empire. Like, come on, it's really important that we understand this. Who do you think bankrolls the Zionist state? Who's paying for this genocide right now? It's the American empire. It is not that Israel is just convincing the U.S. and the U.S. just has their hands tied. The reason this is problematic is because this framework exonerates American empire. And they're able to say, oh no, it's not us, it's them, they control everything. It's so simplistic, it's so not grounded in reality, and this is the issue of having a single issue politic, of just framing everything through one lens. Oh, the Zionist state is committing genocide, so now the Zionist state controls everything. Y'all, the American empire is funding the Zionist state. The Zionist state serves as a tentacle, as a client state of the American imperial project. And what the American empire is funding in Palestine is not unique to Palestine. American empire does this in Haiti, Sudan, Congo, in the internal colonies, in Turtle Island, in occupied Hawaii, Puerto Rico, like almost every country in South America where the U.S. has destabilized regimes by funding coups through imperial projects, NAFTA, like, it's so unserious and it's so not strategic because we don't have a chance at winning if we have no ability to analyze imperialism, where power is held, how it's replicated, how these systems work. It's like this framing of the Zionist state controlling the entire world completely exonerates U.S. empire. And the U.S. loves that. They're just like, yeah, it's the AIPAC lobby. Like, yes, the AIPAC lobby is extremely powerful. Absolutely needs to be dismantled and composted entirely. And it's not that these Zionists, most of whom are Christian Zionists, just come and convince the American government who just, you know, are like, oh yeah, you're right, you need to convince us. Like, that's a great idea. Like, who do you think American empire is? They don't need convincing. This is in their strategic interest to aggregate wealth, power, to project power throughout the region, to have an aircraft carrier in the Middle East. It's just like, come on, y'all, let's try to be serious a little bit. We can't have a single issue politic, which just our only frame of analysis is Zionism. Within that is not even understanding of the ways in which Zionism works. It's like, we need to try to understand imperialism, the way that these struggles are interconnected, the way that the U.S. empire is funding the genocide in Palestine, as in addition to U.S. empire occupying Haiti right now, an ongoing process since 1915, the ways in which U.S. empire destabilizes regimes in South America, the way that U.S. empire is complicit in genocide in Congo right now, in Sudan. It's just like, let's read a little bit. Let's take this seriously. Have some resources in the comments.
This is why I was guided to show you the videos. They are, and also that too, you can see it yourself. Go to Telegram and look at Israel's accounts. They are not, they're exposing their own war crimes, okay? But that way you also follow the resistance. You will see the difference. There's a huge difference, okay? Huge. One is helping other people, protecting other people, saving, and the other one is literally massacring, raping, and celebrating, bombing babies, having a good time, starving them. It's okay to starve them. It's okay for the massacre. It's okay for the genocide. No, it's not okay. Also, I told you guys before, this is some type of cult. They are satanic. Especially yesterday, that confirmed that as well. The raping on the 6th day of the siege of the Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza. and make their families watch this woman who is 5 months pregnant. I told you that numbers matters to them. And right before the full moon lunar eclipse, tell me that these people are not satanic. They literally assaulted almost a mother in front of her husband, her children, her family. And if they close their eyes, they will shoot them. And they still end up probably killing this woman. I'm still trying to find the report. Some of them say that yes, because they beat her, right? They beat her child, they beat her. So yeah, they probably killed her. And they make their families watch. At this point, whatever this girl says, this is exactly my energy, how I feel for a lot of y'all. And I do have a couple of things to talk about this situation as well.
If you are still choosing to like click past stories and like skip anything to do with Gaza to like protect your peace, go fuck yourself. Respectfully. If what you've seen for the past 4 months hasn't fundamentally altered you in your soul, if it hasn't radicalized you to the point where you look out at the world and feel nothing but like horror and terror at like how people can do this to other people, like, you're not seeing what I'm seeing. Bodies shredded to ribbons, tents bombed. People are losing like 70, 80 family members. And oh, I just want to watch what I want to watch. My mental health. Like, shut the fuck up! Do you know whose mental health is probably impacted right now? The Palestinians being bombed within an inch of their life, if not being literally massacred and murdered by UK-funded bombs, by US-funded bombs. Please gain some perspective. Thanks.
In the midst of Israeli occupational forces' ongoing raid at the Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza, it is now being reported that Israeli occupational forces committed a massacre by executing dozens of Palestinians. According to media reporting and witness testimony on the ground, Israeli occupational forces committed a bloody massacre, killing 50 Palestinians and arresting nearly 200 in the Shifa medical complex and the areas surrounding it in Gaza City. Amongst those executed were reportedly children, as well as civilians, including sick and displaced people within the hospital grounds. Those 50 are part of the at least 250 Palestinians who have been killed so far in the current Israeli assault on the Al-Shifa hospital. Those inside the hospital who are still alive are reportedly facing shortages of food and water as they undergo a siege at the hands of Israeli occupational forces. And in the midst of this, one reporter from Gaza stated that Israeli forces murdered her only brother in front of her. There's really nothing left to say at this point. We are watching genocidal actions being perpetrated by a colonial military force that understands on some level that it will not be held accountable on the international stage for the actions in which it's perpetrating. Israeli occupational forces have the singular goal of creating maximal suffering on the ground for Palestinians in Gaza, whether it be murdering them, arresting them, torturing them, destroying everything they have. This is the singular goal of these occupation forces. And that brutality is playing out in front of our very eyes. We are getting new updates, new reporting every single day, even as reporting has slowed as a result of Israeli occupational forces murdering journalists and those recording these atrocities in Gaza. And this is one event of many that is demonstrating what their real goals are in Gaza. Israeli occupational forces executed children, displaced people, sick people inside of a hospital complex. This is a kind of unmistakable evil that you cannot rationalize, that you cannot defend, that most of us will probably never be able to truly even comprehend. Stories like that are the true brutal reality that Palestinians have faced for decades as a result of Zionist settler colonialism in historic Palestine. And as Israeli occupational forces continue committing their genocide in Gaza, it's something really worth thinking on. But yeah, as always, free Palestine. Assalamu alaikum. Until next time.
All right, that's what I had for part 1. I will go part 2, but I will leave you with 2 messages. One is the reason of, why I've been telling you guys. Also, I got a lot of hate messages and stuff like that for, remember that video that I told you guys about the rituals and stuff like that? This one, I was showing you, like, you know, and I got the same thing, the same energy when I was showing you guys what are the spells and how they do it, and they do it in a, like, accordingly, okay? So during this time, this is what they were planning to do, or they were doing, and they really hated it to be exposed. Oh, well. Oh, well. The good thing is that when you're connected to God, he gives you warnings of anybody attacking you or doing anything, or anyone that is connected to you, or anybody that you're praying for, especially those who are praying for everybody who be liberated at this point, that he shows you 10 days, 5 days, even the same day, from people, from others, from information. This is why all the propaganda and their $1 trillion that they're doing for lies and propaganda that they're doing is not working. It's not working. So that's why I don't really believe those people that say, oh, I didn't know. Oh, I didn't. I mean, I believe it just a little, because I know the suppression and censorship is an all-time high right now. Okay. But I know that the consistency of a lot of us who keep posting about pro-Palestine, who keep doing it, and then show that data, they show why they wanted to ban TikTok, is showing the data that a lot of right now, the algorithm is favoring pro-Palestine, and they hate that. Okay, so continue doing this. This is exactly what we need to be doing. We need to eradicate white supremacy, racism, all these demonic, satanic things that it's in our unconscious. Okay, we need to make it conscious. That's what conscious Christ consciousness is about. Okay, we have God within us, so we have to use those gifts and talents that he gave us. Okay. Now, keep saying the higher power. This is much higher than all of us. So we just have to be obedient. Continue your praying, continue your fasting, continue boycotting. Boycotting is working, okay? Now, the last video, I love the energy, okay? So this is the energy that I think a lot of us should be having. Like, we should collect groups and stuff like that and have this as a form of protest. I think we could do this in a civilized way, but I love the Irish people, how they do this. So watch the last video, okay? And I'll see you in part 2, all right? Enjoy. Bye. And free Palestine.
Israel is one of the most racist countries in the world. While you'll never hear anyone in the mainstream media say this, this is actually one of the most important things you need to understand if you want to know what's happening right now. From its inception, the whole idea of Israel as a country was based on racism. Israel was conceived as a Jewish state, and while there's nothing wrong in principle with Jews having a homeland, the problem is that they insisted that that homeland had to be in Palestine, which already belonged to someone, the Palestinians. The slogan of Israel's founders was a land for a people without a land. But deep down, they all knew that the only way to have a Jewish majority in Palestine, an Arab country, was to expel the Arabs. One of the founders of Israel, Yosef Weitz, wrote, "There's no room in the country for both peoples. There's no way but to transfer the Arabs from here to neighboring countries." Israel was quite literally founded by expelling and massacring hundreds of thousands of Arabs in a years-long process called the Nakba. And when you found a country based on racial exclusion, you're gonna get a culture that fosters and celebrates racial exclusion. Because countries that commit terrible atrocities rarely acknowledge committing those atrocities. And the presence of Palestinians who remained in Palestine became a constant reminder, not only of the violence that founded Israel, but of the constantly looming threat that they might come back and try to reclaim their land. Every day you can find videos coming out of Israel showing Israelis calling for all Arabs to die, insulting the Prophet Muhammad, desecrating mosques, spitting on Christians, mocking and celebrating the murder of Palestinians, committing violent hate crimes against Palestinians, watching Gaza get carpet bombed from a cliffside for entertainment. But don't just go off these anecdotes. Let's look at some of the polls. One poll found that 2/3 of Israeli teens believe Arabs to be less intelligent, uncultured, and violent. It also found that 50% of Israelis wouldn't live in the same building as Arabs, wouldn't befriend Arabs, wouldn't let their children befriend Arabs, and wouldn't let Arabs into their homes. Another poll found that 60% of Israeli Jews want segregation from Arabs. Another poll found that half of Israeli Jews agree with the statement, most Jews are better than most non-Jews because they were born Jews. Jews. The poll also found that 88% of Israeli Jews would be disturbed if their son befriended an Arab girl, and 90% would be disturbed if their daughter befriended an Arab boy. This poll found that about half of Israeli high schoolers don't think Arabs should have the right to vote. Another poll showed that almost half of Israeli Jews don't want Arabs teaching their kids. Not only are these views widely held in Israeli society, they're also represented in government, which codifies these sentiments into law. For example, Israel has a law that says if an Israeli marries a Palestinian, or someone from several other regional Arab states, that person isn't allowed to move in with said Israeli. This law was passed in 2003, but it's been renewed every single year since. Israel also doesn't allow interreligious marriage to be performed in the country, which is meant to deter Jews from marrying non-Jews. In 2018, Israel passed the nation-state law, a law which has constitutional status, which says the right to exercise national self-determination, i.e. have rights, is the exclusive right of Jews, no one else. There's also the Nakba law, which makes it illegal to acknowledge the Nakba, the expulsions of Palestinians that were needed to found Israel. This would be like passing a law to make it illegal to talk about indigenous genocide or slavery in America. There's also the Admissions Committee law, which basically allows towns to operate panels that deny applications for entry based on socio-cultural compatibility, which essentially just legalizes racist housing discrimination. In Israel, advocating genocide of Palestinians doesn't hurt your chances of holding a high position in government. And in fact, in many cases, it helps. In 2014, Israeli lawmaker Ayelet Shaked wrote an unhinged rant on Facebook, calling all Palestinians enemy combatants and saying their mothers should be killed for giving birth to, quote, little snakes. The next year, she was appointed Minister of Justice by Benjamin Netanyahu. Itamar Ben-Gvir, a lifelong admirer of Meir Kahane, an Arab exterminationist, a man who praised the Jewish settler who killed a Palestinian for throwing a rock at him, a man who was famously acquitted after being criminally charged for chanting death to Arabs, is Israel's current Minister of National Security. He's not some fringe figure either. He's one of the most popular politicians in Israel right now. In the last few days, Israel's been working hard to cast itself as the victim of hatred, the victim of terrorism, the victim of anti-Semitism, that they have no choice but to lay siege to Gaza. But underneath this carefully concocted victim complex is a racist, Jewish supremacist state that's been trying to finish the job that the Nakba started for decades. And really, this shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. After all, they're literally cutting off water and electricity to a city of 2 million people right now. Their generals talk openly about flattening Gaza and killing the animals, meaning Palestinians. It's obvious their goal is genocide.
All monitor Sainsbury's to the customer service desk, please. This is a customer announcement. Today we're in Lidl in the Blacks Road to highlight the fact that Lidl are selling Israeli products in the store.
Yes, the home bargains, we stock in any of that. All coming off the shelves.
We're here today to let people know that AXA invests in Israeli banks, financing war crimes and the theft of Palestinian land and national resources.
Attention shoppers! Apologies for the disturbance. We're here with Mothers Against Genocide and we're asking Lidl to stop selling Israeli produce. The wipes we have here in this basket are all produced in Israel.
These Loopy-Loo baby wipes are contaminated with genocide. We're going to remove them now and take them up to the manager and tell them the people of Bundoran don't want these in Lidl.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Occupation no more.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Israel is a terrorist state.
Free, free.
Palestine.
Free, free.
Palestine.
Free, free.
Palestine.
This is Ireland's moment. We had our genocide. And we know what it's like for our ancestors. We started there purposely.
International Court of Justice found that plausible genocide is occurring and it's being done by the Israeli occupation forces.
Boycott Israel! Boycott Israel! Boycott Israel! Boycott Israel! From the river to the sea! Palestine will be free! 14,000 dead children have been murdered. We cannot fund Israeli businesses.
Boycott AXA. Cancel your account and tell them why you're cancelling. They are complicit in the funding of Israeli genocide.
Sainsbury's manager to the customer service desk